People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thursdays are typically spent with Jess, aka she kinda knows Arsenal. We've got a lot to discuss. We always pick the best times. Magalh has obviously had an injury, which we'll get onto. We got to speak about Fulham. We got to speak about Real Madrid. Since our last conversation, Andrea Berta has been named. We're still linked with the Williams and Garcias and Gyökeres and Nico Williams and David Ornstein updates. We got a lot to discuss, man. We saying, Jess?
Hello.
Hello to you too.
I'm feeling okay.
Gabriel Jesus has got you shocking up, man. You look lost for words.
Gabriel who?
Gabriel Magalh. Apologies. Don't worry, we're going to talk about Brazilian though. You got some apologies, but we'll get into it.
Oh, I'm not apologizing for anything.
I don't. There's no point being wrong and strong, man. There's no point being wrong and strong.
I told
your American left. I didn't do nothing.
I told Nelly FC yesterday that you guys should just be happy that he had a good performance after 2 years of nothing.
So, swear. So what? He's got 5 goals though. If you exclude Bukayo Saka, Mikel Merino, and Kai Havertz, he's one of our top goal scorers. He's doing his job more than your boy.
If he's been playing well,
had a hamstring injury. Remember?
No, I'm going to ask you this: if he's been playing well, because you're bringing up the stats, then why do people want him replaced? And why?
I can't. Jess, I'm so happy you said that.
The question. Because he hasn't been playing well. Exactly.
So, why are you being aggressive? You're scaring me, Jess. I thought we were friends. You're scaring me. If you allow me,
enjoy the day.
Can I?
Enjoy the day. Enjoy the day. Enjoy.
Can I speak? Is it cool?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
go back my head off. You said people. I can't be held accountable for other people's opinions. There's millions of Arsenal fans. What I will say is we have to give credit where due. You saw the great bit of skill. You saw his assist. You know what he brings to us. He did just come back from a hamstring injury. We've got to remember that. And I just want to know, do you think he played well against Fulham? That's all I want to know.
Yeah, of course I did.
What did he do that impressed you?
Actually got past his man a couple of times. Yeah, that was really good.
What else?
Was nice. The assist was really good too. That was the best performance that he's had since the 2022-2023 season.
Cap, you're gonna forget? Are you forgetting the bit of skill, the nutmeg?
What do you mean? That's the biggest.
You didn't mention it though. You didn't mention it.
He got past Castagna.
Yeah. Why are you saying it in a snide way?
I'm not. I gave him man of the match. Like,
you should be happy because we're about to see. We're gonna get into it, but we're about to see your boy, who's apparently a good passer and all of that kind of stuff, Mr. Jakub Kiwior, play against Real Madrid. Banner aside, Jess, man. Like, let's have some structure before we get into Berta and Gyökeres and Gabriel Magalh and the injuries. And me and you, no doubt, we're both very analytical. Speak about injuries. Let's try and have some structure. Arsenal versus Fulham. As much as you can not comment on Timber and Magalh, talk to me about that game.
I mean, I think it was just like a tale of two halves, to be honest. I think the first half was pretty dead from both teams. So it was hard to stay interested in the game. I think it's difficult to stay interested in any of our games in the Prem, knowing that we're probably, it's over.
We're not exactly great to watch.
Yeah, the second half, though, I actually thought was much, much, much better and showed that Arsenal can be a dangerous side if they just move, make runs, be dynamic, not be afraid to attack. We created quite a few chances in the game. I know people don't like XG, but we created 2.4 XG in the game. With no pens or anything.
People that don't rate Martinelli are XG and stat merchants. I just want to throw that out there. I couldn't help you, but go on, Jess. I cut you. It's rude.
So I think that we did pretty good. I thought, when Timber made that overlapping run, Odegaard found him. When Martinelli ran central, when's the last time we've seen Martinelli make a run centrally?
Quite a lot.
No, not really. Not this season.
Not this season. So
he was
Spurs away. Inter, Atalanta, these chances which he didn't convert, they all started centrally. But go on.
I would just say enjoy the day that you got. Because if he doesn't show up against Everton, this is going to look horrendous. So,
Jess, do you know how much shit you and Gooner and all of you lot give me for Martinelli and how many times I've lost? Of course I'm enjoying my day, and that's all it is. I know you lot are coming for my head back.
Enjoy the day. That's all I'm saying.
Cream always rises to the top.
When he made that run, and Odegaard found he should have been onside, but he was off. To me, that was just one of those. He was off, and Winieri didn't
numerous times.
his best game, but we were at least putting ourselves in positions to get into the box centrally and put Fulham under pressure, which we've really struggled to do against teams like Fulham that play the deep mid block. So I think even, and obviously Saka makes a huge difference when he comes in, but even before Saka got on the pitch, I did think that we were doing pretty good. We just needed to convert. So moral of the story is move and things happen. I don't know why we've been at this thing where we just all just stand in one spot, nobody makes runs, nobody's dynamic, but we're such a better side when we have movement, when players are aggressive. And I think one of the probably the player that showed it the most was Martinelli. I feel like
Yeah.
people were saying that Martinelli, I
Okay.
gave him credit. I
Oh, Martinelli, do.
listen, enjoy your day. But yeah, he did really, really good yesterday, and so hopefully he can maintain that level.
I think you said a lot of things that we can touch on. I'm a bit different to you in that, being at the game, I think obviously, like, as much as we can kind of skip over, the game is going to be overshadowed, or better yet, the major talking points are going to be Bukayo Saka's return. Being at the game, it's testament to what he is, but it's also testament to how much we love him, in that when his name was announced in the build up to the game, when he came off the bench, when he warmed up and evidently he scored, especially when his name was read out initially. There's certain man that will score for this football club throughout the whole entire time of just Arsenal being a thing in this world, that will never have a role like that. Happy to see the star boy back. I think Mikel Merino, yeah, he was involved in, I'd hate to be a nerd, but the pre-assist before Martinelli did that flick, and he did score with a touch of fortune, but isolated to taking that away. I think Merino, that was probably without context, 90 minutes. I think that was his best game. Obviously, the injuries are one thing. I'm a bit different to you in that I feel it was a nothing game, so I share the same. I share the same thoughts as you. Like we're at with the club. I think the first half was a bit better than the second. I would say the one thing I'm kind of critical of Arteta is, do you remember? You remember Zinchenko at Anfield, right? Where we should have brought on Tini. He only brought Tini on when Zinchenko obviously made that error. Yeah, Lewis Skelly had a good game for me, but I feel towards the end he looked knackered, he looked spent, and I think exactly just to see out the game, I think he needed to throw Tini on, and and he didn't do that. And I'm kind of nitpicking, but I just feel, had Fulham have scored that sitter with Munoz, had they have scored a couple of chances as well as the goal they did score, where Kivior and Cole, not even agendering him, they went to sleep, it could have been another game. But we just needed to handle business. I think Fulham respected us too much. That kind of comes with the territory, but we kept it moving. I do want to ask you about Saka though. Yeah, like me and you were very cautious, and I don't think we're without claim. I think many people are going to go, "Oh, I told you so. Saka's fit now." Da, 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 da. But I must admit, he looked a lot fresher than I thought. He was obviously back to his best, and considering he's been out for 100 days, 101 days, he didn't look like that. Like, was we panicking too much? Were we wrong? Like, do we and you have to just eat humble pie with the Saka thing?
I mean, we just need to wait to see. He played 30 minutes, against Fulham. So, let's just pump the brakes a little bit, because he's going to play probably every minute now from now until the end of the season.
God forbid.
So we need to just calm down, for 2 seconds. Now, that being said, like, I was actually talking to my mom about this, and she was saying that that's the most like fresh that Saka has looked in, like you were saying, in a long time. And if there was anybody that needed time off, it's probably him. He's played nonstop since Mikel has been here. As a starter, as a full 90, as a leader, he plays almost every minute of every game for England. He never gets a break. So maybe 100 and something days rest, actually, if from a counteractive side, maybe is a good thing, because there's nobody that needed more rest than him. So I'm hoping that that's what we get out of it, is that 100 days off gives us the freshest Saka that we've seen in a couple of seasons, and not that we're going to get some sort of, injury proneness, situation. But nothing really can be said after 30 minutes after Fulham. Now, in terms of the way that we played once he got on, there were people, probably not on your channel, but on my channel after the games, there were people speaking crazy on Saka's name.
What do you mean?
Crazy on Saka's name.
What do you mean?
Yeri has a higher ceiling, Yeri has more to his game, he's more well-rounded, he's this and that. You don't know what you missed until he comes back and you see it. Like, seriously, I'm not saying that Yeri is not a good player. I think he's fabulous. But there is no substitute for a top 3 right winger in the world.
And the
I'm
inevitability that provides, especially where we've got, let's be honest, and to AJ's
Yeah.
point, who else is there that's going to shoulder the burden? Yeah, we got a couple man that will. In the last 3 years, we've seen Martinelli, Odegaard, Kai Havertz, all of these guys chip in. Saka's been the only consistent variable. Saka is the only quote unquote reliable player in the attacking third. I would add an asterisk because I do think Wanyeri is that, but he's young, he's developing, he's finding his
Yeah.
feet. We probably wouldn't have seen Wanyeri to this extent had these injuries not happened. Me and just have spoken a lot about Mikel Arteta and the seniority thing and the steps that have to be taken before you see the likes of Lewis Skelly and Wanyeri blooded in. But do you know what? Funny enough, Jess, I don't mind that, Let them do the Wanyeri Saka thing because we've seen Saka compared to everyone under the sun, and especially with rival fans. They don't rate Saka. Saka is used as the yardstick. He's compared to everyone. All of the guys they compared him to failed. Now they're comparing him to someone that is at his club, which I honestly don't mind. Jack Grealish, he scored the other day, touching tribute and RIP his brother. But look how long it took him to score. And Saka's come back from 101 days. And it's sad because I think he would have had a really, really, really all-timer season. I think this would have been, in terms of output, Saka's best year. So I don't understand the crazy thing, Jess, man. Anyone, you need to tell him to shut up.
Yeah, I was like, what are we saying? If there's anybody in this team that we cannot really question, their levels, it's Saka, so I get it.
Pleasing.
I get it, but I'm like, no. But he makes everybody better. And this goes back to my point around like the last couple of weeks. I've been doubling down on this and I'm going to triple down, quadruple down on it. Is when you have better attackers, the game is just easier. It's just easier. Even when you come up against
and move the ball quicker, like you said earlier as well. It's crazy, isn't it?
Move the ball quicker. And when it comes to the mid and low blocks, it's not even about the patterns in the system anymore. It's about individual. You need to get past your guy to create the moments. And Martinelli did that and Saka did that when they got on. So I just feel like that's what we've been missing. You need your attackers to come up with moments of brilliance against teams that are in settled blocks. And we haven't had that. So I think yesterday was obviously it's just Fulham. It's a dead game, but
they weren't saying that before though.
Some of these things can inform you for next season and what's important for us to make sure that we get in that summer window. Better attackers make your life a lot freaking easier. And that was definitely on display yesterday because and I know Fulham didn't play their best, but they still played in that settled block. And to me, there wasn't really a moment where I felt like we were playing the horseshoe of death. And especially in the second half when we really started to get going. I was like, it could all be so simple if we just moved the ball quicker and our attackers were just better.
You know how I feel about that, man. I feel we clearly need quantity and quality in the summer, and we'll get onto that in a bit. And those two evidently overlap, but I also think there's a lot to do from a Mikel Arteta perspective to evolve this system across all aspects and actually to create goal-scoring chances. Now, I'm not a coach. I can criticize Arteta and praise him. I'm not a coach. I'm happy it's not my job. But what I can see, which you just said, week in, week out, it's low blocks. Low blocks, compact unit. You've got 5 at the back in Fulham's case. You've got half a chance against Arsenal. So we need to find a way to alleviate against that, whether that's the Odegaards and Wanyeri's in the pockets, whether that's, like you said, Martinelli and them man running in behind, stretching the team, etc., etc. I think tactics is one thing. I think this season we've been very complacent. We was complacent in the transfer market, was quite naive as well. And we're going to have to address this. Like, let's speak about Gabriel Magalh's stuff. I want to ask you a second question, but me and you have a lot to say in it, so let's get some structure. Obviously, we saw him come off in the 15th minute. It's been confirmed he's set for surgery. Season's probably over. What do you make of this news? How do you approach Everton and Real Madrid?
I mean, it's heartbreaking because if there was one player that I really wanted to see against Real Madrid besides Saka, it was Gabriel, because I just know that like Gabriel, and this is soft factory shit, but I think that Gabriel is world class and has been for at least a season now. And I feel like we're skirting around it because maybe we haven't won trophies, or maybe because early days people were calling him Bozo or whatever, or just because he's standing next to Saliba. But
holding Saliba's hand half the time, respectfully to Saliba.
yeah,
He's the big brother, and we're gonna miss that against Real Madrid. Like away from the ability, he's the senior leader. Kivior, Lewis Skelly, that they're gonna need their hands held essentially.
yeah, he's just somebody that I feel like would have stood up at the Bernabeu and had a massive game. If there's
And
anybody that I can count on to have a big game and a big moment, it's Gabriel, you know. So, and I just wanted him to be able to show that kind of in front of the world, where everybody's expecting our center backs to have a really big game. And so for him to be robbed of that is really heartbreaking. Him being out for the season is devastating, because he's just,
player of the year.
yeah, he's our player of the season. But how we attack the Everton game is anybody that's not important, you know, needs to play, and everybody that is important needs to come off. You know,
Give me a starting 11.
off the top of my head, tough.
And before you do that, do we have to put an asterisk because we don't know? I think Timber and White will be in the squad, but do we put an asterisk on our starting 11 because me and you at this moment in time don't know if everyone's going to be there?
Well, Timber, I think there's already reports coming out that he'll be fine. So
all right, slap him
Timber,
in there then.
you know, I think the biggest questions right now are Calafiori and White. I know that, to me, if White is fit, then you can put Timber at center back. But my preference would be Calafiori to be fit for the role in which we bought him for. If this is the one time that we need you, and if you're not fit, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna be happy about that, because this is what we bought him for, is to step in for Gabriel when we need him. And
Let's not even mention Tomiyasu.
yeah, not, I mean, Tomiyasu I've completely just written off, you know, but Calafiori, you just got here. You've been kind of waiting in the wings. This is meant to be the moment where we bought a kind of like a big, not a big name, but a really talented young player that's supposed to come in and play left center back. And what I don't like is that if he's not available, then you have two options. Either you play Kiwi, who I like, but you know he's going to be rattled, or moving Saliba to the left-hand side and playing somebody else on the right. If you
Or some would even say put Rice in there, but we all know the knock-on effects with Partey, right back, Rice, centre half in midfield.
Yeah, the knock-ons are just like, if you watch Saliba play left-sided center back for France, it's not terrible, but it's not the vibes that we want to go with, you know. So an untested center back partnership, I just prefer us to at least have a left footer on the left-hand side. That the biggest difference for me between Kivior and Calafiori is that Calafiori will make a mistake and he has a goldfish memory. He's also somebody that I've seen play in big games. Kivior is he is not.
Have faith, man.
Yeah, Calafiori just has a different vibe about him where he's more confident. And I think Kivior's biggest downfall is he lacks confidence. That's why he makes the mistakes that he makes. That's why when the ball bounced against Fulham and he had a little pressure on him for Traore, he takes the worst touch and then Traore takes the ball away from him. So you can't make those types of mistakes. To me, this is a Rob Holding moment for Mikel Arteta. He needs to not allow, he needs to make a hard decision on how to get his most confident players out there against the best team in the world.
What do you mean by that as well? Like, let me, Aaron, big up yourself. I'm gonna ask just your questions. But what do you, like, I know what you mean by the Rob Holding comment, but for someone that doesn't or is a bit naive, what do you mean by that?
So when we're not under pressure, Rob Holding is not a terrible player. You know, he played games leading up to, you know, the run-in. He played games and it was fine because we were relaxed. It wasn't high pressure. We were playing well. But once we got into the pressure cooker, the mistakes started to compound. And Rob Holding is a player that couldn't even get a game at Crystal Palace. I think most people that were realistic understood that his level was well below what we were trying to achieve.
And well past his sell-by date here.
Yeah, and we were a young side that were going into their first ever title race against one of the best teams that we
remember when he done the wink against City as well. Like,
yeah, it's just
it was so unserious.
It was all a mess, you know. And I think that this is another Rob Holding scenario where it's not that Kivior is the worst player in the world and we haven't seen him play well, But when he gets in pressurized situations, like case in point, last year in the quarterfinal in the Champions League, he made more than one mistake. He made the first mistake and then made another one really closely afterwards. You cannot do that. You can't take us out of a tie, and that's why I'm just like, you need to get your most confident and assured players out there, because you're going to make a mistake against the best team in the world, but you can't take us out of the tie. And that's my biggest thing with Kivior right now, is if you're making mistakes against Fulham, like,
PSV dealt with him as well last year.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think you need to avoid that center back partnership that we're looking at on the screen as much as possible, because also Saliba, I love him down, but I want him to almost be able to just focus on his own job, because he's not necessarily a leader in that way. And so if you have like a Timber next to him, Timber can hold his own. If he has a Calafiori next to him, Calafiori can hold his own. Kivior needs hand holding, so I'm worried about this, because I know Arteta's thing is usually to trust the player, but I think
Got no choice.
a better coach, or not a better coach, but a different coach would avoid the scenario altogether. I mean, what do you think about it? Am I being too harsh? Am I thinking too hard about it? Is Kivior, is it going to be fine? Because I'm worried about Kivior's mental state during these two legs.
And before I answer, that's actually something I wanted to ask you. Like, I'll answer your question, but why do you worry about his his mental state? And why do you think he lacks confidence beyond the obvious? We know he's not playing.
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Kivior from day one, although like he's been, he's played in a World Cup for Poland, he was good for, Spezia or whatever. He just seems very unsure of himself in moments, and they get worse when the pressure cooker is on. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a game with Kivior in it that was a high stakes game where he didn't make at least one big mistake.
Probably only Liverpool at home. I want to say,
No,
I feel like he's done all right against Liverpool.
Nah, when we conceded the second goal, he was at fault. That was
his
fault.
Lewis Skelly went to sleep. Yeah, you are right. I'll allow a man for that, but I think that's the thing with me, man. Like I know me and you do the banter thing with Kivior. I call him shit, and that I don't think he's levels at Arsenal Football Club. I think from the jump, it's so ironic you mentioned Rob Holding, because you remember when we won the Community Shield. Mm-hmm. And he gave an interview and he was like, he was having to push Kivior like to take pictures, and that you can see he's introverted. Now, I understand that, respectfully to Kivior. You've come from humble beginnings to big Arsenal, where, you walk down Oxford Street, everybody knows you and all of those kind of things. Yeah. But away from your technical level, your ability, how difficult attackers might describe any defender as being 1v1, I don't like, especially centre halves, and especially in England, the ones that ain't got the mentality. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but he seems like a soft touch. He's a nice guy and all that. Like, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't mind being with someone like him, but I don't know if you're rugged. And I think attackers can smell that. I think naturally Real Madrid can smell that. Is going to get pulled into wide areas. The one thing that scares me is not necessarily Lewis Skelly, but you've got a young man out there in Kivior. You've got a young man to his left in Lewis Skelly. You've got Saliba, which I think he is a leader, but he's not the leader yet, like to Gabriel Magalh's standards. Of course, you might have a Timber or Ben White on the right-hand side, but I worry about that. Anyone who's played football knows you need someone that's kind of regulating it. I just think the best thing Kivior could do is show mentality. All I can say for Kivior is, yeah, you can doubt yourself. You wouldn't be playing if certain men weren't injured and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you're playing Real Madrid. If you want to be a little pussycat and feel sorry for yourself, you're going to get slaughtered at the Bernabeu. And life could be better, but could be a lot worse. You were here in 2022, 23 when we were just at the start of this thing. Now we're playing at the Bernabeu. Like, this is where we wanted to be. Equip yourself. If you're playing yourself back into Mikel Arteta's plans, either by default or long term, or putting yourself in the shop window, stand up to be counted. But beyond that, I can't have any real confidence. I know I was at this press conference. I know Mikel Arteta bigged him up and said we've asked him to play anywhere. But this is the twofold thing. We know, innit? Like, our squad is tiny, and then we can't, whether we can or can't, we rest players or players are not there. The drop off is too big. I don't think Kivior is that good on the ball under pressure. I think he can be got at. I think he's someone that kind of needs his handheld. And that's where I'm going to need Saliba to kind of step up and be a senior kind of figure, Jess.
He just needs to avoid the center back partnership altogether. I just
We
don't.
got no choice because it's either that or Rice. Tommy's not
I
there.
think
Callum's
I
not
think
there.
we will have a choice. I think we will. I think by the time we get to that game, there will be somebody else available. I don't think it'll
Who
be
though?
that it.
Give me some optimism, Jess, man. I'm scared. Who though?
I mean, all you need is from Calafiori, Timber, and White for two of them to be available, and then you got to see. Then you got what you got, and then go with that. I'm
All
so
right,
sorry,
cool.
but
Let's assume, yeah, sorry to cut you, but let's
I'm
assume
assuming that
White
two
and
of them,
Callum's there. Hmm?
I'm assuming that two of them will be fit.
Why do you think Callum's gonna? I don't think Calafiori's gonna be there. I've got more
If it's,
faith in White and Timber. I just don't
yeah,
think he's about.
if it's that, then again, two of the three of those. I don't care
I hear
what.
that.
I'd prefer it to be Calafiori because this is what you were bought for, and then Saliba doesn't have to move to the other side. But as long as you have two of White, Timber, or Calafiori, you got options to make sure that Kivior doesn't. And I know that it's once you play somebody else out of position in a moment where you're meant to play, it's done. But it's done anyway, isn't it? It's done anyway, is it? This is the only game. These are the only two games in our season that matter at this stage. So you can't be pussyfooting around, excuse my language, trying to
You don't have
make
to
sure
excuse
that,
your language, but
yeah,
go ahead.
be nice to be afraid of Kivior's feelings. This is, if there's ever a time to hurt somebody's feelings, it's now. I really do think Arteta needs to avoid that center back partnership. But if
But
he
could you
goes
argue
with,
that's the best compliment though? I know we're saying we hope Calafiori and Timber and all these guys are fit, but if we look at it on another hand and we assume we don't know today about Calafiori, about White
Mhm.
and Timber, there's not really much else. You've got a left footer, you got a
Well,
right footer, you keep
yeah,
Saliba on the stronger side. Is
yeah.
it a needs must? Like, surely
If
this is the best compliment.
if no, if we can't get two of those fit in time, then you have to go with this. But I'll be watching from behind the couch because this is a certain train wreck. It's just there's nobody that can. He had one of the easiest days out against Manchester United when Gabriel didn't play. Saliba and him were the center back partnership. There was no pressure on him.
Oh,
There
now
was
you want to say
nobody.
that.
There was nobody around him, and he played well. He did. Then the very next game we played against Fulham, he got touched because Raul Jimenez, all he had to do was run off the shoulder, and that was it. It's not going to take much.
Right.
And we're going to play at the Emirates first, right?
Mm.
The worst thing that could happen is he makes a huge mistake early doors in that game, because then he'll just continue to make those mistakes. It'll get worse from there. I think Arteta needs to avoid it. I'm so sorry. I would do most other things. I would probably even consider Rice back there before Kivior.
Oh, but then the midfield, then it's already a mess. When you got underperforming Odegaard, you take Rice out the injury where Real Madrid got all those players. Partey's even an option at right back. So you could argue two of our first choice three midfielders might not even be playing in position. And we're definitely going to talk about depth and hamstring injuries, but it's what me, you, people on your channel, people on my channel, people in the chats, it's what we've been saying, in it. Like, we need quality, we need depth. We haven't done that in it really. And we're going to get into Mikel Arteta, but against Everton, then, like, where's your thinking then for the, like, if you named your starting back five, include so Raya in goal, Saliba, obviously, fill in the blanks. And then give me your Real Madrid one.
I mean, I definitely know I'm resting Miles Lewis-Skelly. So
Yeah.
if that means that one of Zinchenko or Tierney needs to start, that's fine with me. Maybe you start Kivior.
Even Everton away is a tough test. We're focusing on Real Madrid, and I know the Premier is what it is, but David Moyes, early morning, midday kickoff, it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of defending and a lot of battling Kivior's going to have to do. So I'm with that. You might as well get battle tested on Saturday.
Saliba, and I'm hoping that we get a White, but it may end up being Timber, and it is what it is. And then going into the Real Madrid game, add MLS to that, from the people that we know are fit, but I'm assuming other people will be fit. They must. This is it. If there's a time to rush somebody back, if there's a time to strap somebody up and shoot them with the whatever, the medicine. This is
Well,
it.
get your painkillers, man.
Yeah, this is it, because these are the only 2 games that really matter this season for us. This is it. So if there is a time to risk it, this is it. But I know, because I see people online saying you just need to come to grips with Kivior starting. I feel like the fact that people feel like Arteta is going to do that just shows how we haven't grown from that season, because you just, in a high stakes game, I'm just so sorry. You just cannot do it.
Two crunch periods, really. The Champions
It's
League,
too
like you
much.
said, against Bayern, and the year before that,
Yeah.
where he didn't even initially trust Kivior because clearly he weren't really convinced. He went with Holding, which was kind of maybe out of habit. I don't think Kivior convinced him in training. I personally think in the 2022-23 season, it was a thing where he tried Holding. Holding was too shit. So he thought, what, it's a Kivior thing. And rightly so at the time, everyone, including myself, not that Kivior pulled up trees, but we're sitting there thinking, should you have done that before? Now, there is a reality. Kivior starts in that period where Holding came in and collapsed it. Against Everton, Tierney left back, because I share your opinion. I think Lewis Skelly looked knackered, and we need to manage the load a lot lighter, a
Yeah.
lot carefully.
And
So
shame on the people
Tierney,
that were being really harsh on Miles Lewis-Skelly. I was seeing
you know
comments
how
like,
fans are, man.
he's so bad defensively. He's so shocking this. He's so shocking that. I'm like,
Man said
are you
shocking. He
guys
just needs to improve
unaware?
there.
He's a starter for Arsenal now. This is somebody that's coming from academy football. Starter for Arsenal now, starter for England. He's played more minutes in grown men's football than he's ever played in his life.
Look at the in 8 months. That's what he's done.
That is ridiculous. Like, any sort of, very like harsh, definitive, narratives that are being drawn up against Wanyeri and Miles Lewis-Skelly just show why, like, this fan base cannot handle young players in the
No,
team.
but just that's the annoying thing about football.
So annoying.
This is what will happen in this country, and obviously there's people from other countries that are doing this as well. But you big up these players, you see talented young 16, 17, 18-year-olds, pick them up. They're the best thing since sliced bread. You have this image in your head of what they're going to be like long term, and you think like today's Thursday. They think he's this talented young player on Thursday. Come Friday, he's the next level. Lewis Skelly does need to improve defensively. You look at the Liverpool game at the Emirates. You look at actually against Fulham. You look at Newcastle in the League Cup. But this is, and Wanyeri the same, but this is where these young players should be. And the pros to their game are outweighing the cons. They've shown a lot bigger bollocks than half of their more experienced teammates. And this is testament that people are saying that. It's testament that within 8 months, he's gone from, as you said, academy football to us both starting him against Real Madrid, like really and truly. But yeah, against Everton, I think Tierney's got to come in. I think it's a chance to be a bit cute and clever. So Tierney left back, fuck it, Kivior centre back with Saliba.
What if you rest Rice? Would you rest Rice maybe?
Nah. Rice, you got to do me a job. Nah, man. But it's Everton, Jess. It's Everton. We know what we're going into. It's first and second balls. It's high intensity. It's a lot of running. Who else we got?
Premier League's over.
Nah, man. We need to build momentum. We need to win games at the end of the day. It's not over until game week May. I know what you're saying in that, it's the league's gone, but we need to be winning games, man. I don't want to be resting players for the sake of resting. I'm not saying anyone's saying that, but Rice and who? Because Jorginho Party's getting run over. Marino's getting run over as well.
I don't feel like it's for the sake of it, though. I feel like it's to protect the only games that matter now, but
how's the Prem not matter? I know what you're saying in that the Prem. I mean, like, we're not fighting for the league, but
it's prioritization. That's all.
You got fans paying a whole heap of money to go into Goodison Park. We need to be competitive, man. Do you know what's the saddest thing, Jess?
We wouldn't not be competitive if we rotated a couple players out.
Of course we will. Like, you'll see the drop off. We cry about one player missing. You take Rice out the engine room, we're going down the hill. And I'd say the most annoying thing, Jess, is look at the conversations me and you are having. The same things indirectly last season, the year before. The depth is appalling, but we're gonna get onto that, man. I think Tierney left back, Kivior, Saliba, give or take. If White and Timber are fit, then between one of you, give me 45 minutes to an hour. You might, just like against Fulham, have to see Partey right back, or 145 and then the next. Midfield, I think Jorginho can come in. I think he'll go there with Rice. Odegaard's gonna play. Do you start Saka, or do you just wait till Madrid to risk that? Techie, innit?
Yeah, I mean, all of this is like, they're gonna have to really think about a lot of this stuff, because if it's rough. It's
really, ain't even got answers.
No, I don't, because it's like, for me, I believe that even not so great midfield against Everton, we still should be able to be competitive. But more, you're saying that you don't think that we will be competitive.
It's too much of a
I
drop
would
off.
rest a couple of our players just to make sure that nothing happens to them before.
So who's your midfield?
I'd probably I'd do some bullshit. I know I would. I'm on bullshit right now.
Yeah, let us know, man. There's no right or wrong answers. Like, let us know. Like,
I don't know. I would just. I think I would wrap rice in cotton wool. That's what I would say. So
Rice ain't
whatever.
starting.
No.
So then what's your midfield? Like, I assume Odegaard.
Whatever's left. You know, Partey, Odegaard, stick Marino at left center mid, put Trossard up front. Yeah, put Trossard up front at center forward.
Wait, what?
Yeah, just do
it. Did you say Mikel Marino left wing?
Left center mid.
Oh, sorry, I heard wrong. I was about to say
left center mid.
Thank the Lord. I was about to say you said you were gonna do bullshit, but like fuck it. Yeah, you could go with Marino. Trust up through the middle.
Play Trossard through the middle, and you got Martinelli and Saka, and just call it. I guess I'm just so afraid if we lose one more player, then there's no point of even starting this tie against Real Madrid. There's nothing.
I'm more scared for Partey than Rice. If I'm honest, like I'd rather rest Partey than Rice, just because I think Rice is a bit more durable. But even that, he's played with a broken toe. We've seen the amount of we've seen the amount of injuries, full stop, let alone hamstring injuries. God forbid. But when I saw the Gabriel Magalh stuff when I was streaming just before we came, obviously we've seen Havertz, we've seen Saka, we've seen Martinelli. I'm no physio, but then I started to think, who else has played a lot of football? Saliba, Declan Rice, Partey. These are the ones, and it's not even. It is this season. It plays a part, but it's also the last 2 seasons for club and country, and it's what me and you have been saying. We've kicked a can further up the road, and everything's just come to a head. If I'm honest with you, and that's where the most frustrating thing with this is.
I might even just do this. I know that I get it's Everton away from home, and we need to pull up, but if we lose one more player, it's fucked.
You know we're losing some more before the season's done, man. Like,
well, no, if we lose any more players before this Real Madrid tie, if we go out to Real Madrid and then we have the last like 6-7 games of the season, no one, who cares at that stage? I'm talking about this tie. This is all that matters. This is it.
Kept the injuries since the start of the season. Go on, but I'm just going to show you since August.
Well, we've been as I feel like, listen, and no, people don't want to hear it because it doesn't mean that we didn't set ourselves up for failure to start off with, but we have been incredibly unlucky. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong this season.
That's why you put your best foot forward
in terms of injury. So this needs to be, and this is what like Berta and these types of guys need to look at for the summer window, is how do you prevent, I mean, you can't always prevent this, but you can prevent the situations that we've been in this season.
You can put your best foot forward and have a fucking big enough squad competing for 4 trophies. 100%. We've got a squad of 19 and half of them are injury prone.
I agree. I just feel like we couldn't have had a worse window in that summer window. It could not have been any worse in terms of building up the depth that we need. And, you know, Arteta's talking about, he's excited about the summer window because we're going to add depth. Baby, you need starters. You need starters and depth. We're not in.
You've got a lot to do.
Mode. Yeah. So, yeah. You know, we got a lot to do, baby. But I am liking that it feels like Berta's already moving because we are already behind, seeing as our sporting director left in the middle of the night, you know, like... he just left in the middle of the night and just took his shit. And we woke up in the morning and was like, what happened to him? He's gone. You know, where are you? You know, so yeah, I like that it feels like he's making moves. Nothing is set in stone until obviously the player is holding up the shirt. But I like it.
Stick a pin in the Berta stuff for a sec, yeah. Big up Aaron Talks Arsenal. Make sure you're subscribing. He's got a couple questions for you. Question, Jess, does Arteta have a role to play in all of these hamstring injuries?
Listen, I think there needs to be an investigation into, you know, the medical team and the strength and conditioning and things like that. But I think it would be harsh to just say, well, Mikel just overplayed people, because the reality is there was probably what games did we have where you actually genuinely felt like we could have rested Gabriel? You know, I
7-1
don't.
against PSV, potentially. Couple of moments where maybe there could have been a 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. And I know I'm reaching, but I would say that's the thing with Arteta. On one hand, the
Yeah,
squad is small. Arteta, the recruitment stuff, you've all played a hand in that. And it's like
yeah,
you can't stand in the rain. You can't stand outside. No, it's going to rain. Stand out there. And then when it starts drizzling, you still don't do anything. And then when it starts pissing down, now you want to cry about not having a jacket. It's crazy.
yeah. I think there were some players that just looked like they were on the edges. Gabriel, to me, was not one of them. That was a total surprise to me when he pulled up. Now Kai Havertz looked like he was like a dead person walking for a
Remember
couple.
Wolves away, how knackered Kai looked.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of, but then we didn't have anybody. Remember, we were already in injury crisis with our front line when Kai was, so I don't want to just blame Mikel. It's so easy to blame Mikel for
It's
everything.
everybody.
But to me, this is like more of a club thing. And then the fact that maybe we need to change the way that we approach strength and conditioning and rest and stuff, due to the fact that these players are playing so many more minutes than they ever have. So I want to give them a little bit of grace there. So this is the next question.
It's everyone. Yeah, I can appreciate that the centre backs, especially a great pairing, are rarely rotated. But 7 days from a Madrid game with two semi-pointless league fixtures, why is Arteta not rotating before a massive game?
Um, you know, I feel like this is that right there is hindsight for me, because going into the game against Fulham, nobody said start Kiwior, did they? No one.
No, gee.
Nobody was saying, oh, but shouldn't we do, because we're at the bare bones, so I think now that we've sustained the injuries that we've sustained, now maybe it's like a little bit more, we need to look at the game literally right before, because usually it's the game right before you're going to play in the European fixture, in which you'll see people rotate, not Chelsea before the international break, not Fulham before Everton. So I kind of get it, but that feels like that right there feels like hindsight, that because now Gabriel has gotten injured against Fulham, somehow Arteta should have been resting Gabriel, in that game, but when nobody calling for it, I didn't see not a single person say, well, in 2 games time, we have Real Madrid, so should Gabriel be playing?
I
That feels
definitely
like
wanted him against Everton away, man. I can't lie to you. So, do you think this is a revolution from Berta? Then can he spark a revolution? What are you hoping for? Am I placing too much hope in just one singular man to change the trajectory of this club? Definitely after just signing for us and having a matter of weeks or months until we have to begin our summer business. Then
um honestly, I think that I said earlier, that, and I see like a comment saying just is protecting Arteta. No, I'm just being objective. Not everything is
you
his
can't
fault.
lie. I don't think she's protecting
Yeah,
Arteta because she says
everything
it's
is
the
not.
medical staff and everybody.
If you don't scream with, foaming at the mouth, Arteta out at every 5 seconds, you're protecting the manager. But genuinely, we don't
Everyone,
know.
bro, medical staff,
Yeah,
Arteta, strength and conditioning, everybody has to take responsibility for this. It's a
yeah,
mess.
I'm
Recruitment
not
staff,
quite. Yeah,
everyone apart from Berta, really, because he just walked in.
yeah, exactly. It's, if you're in a bad moment, you'll blame the manager, because I don't see Man City fans blaming Pep for all the injuries that they have this season. They have just as many. So
City fans.
a few. So here's the thing. I feel like I said early doors that I felt like a new sporting director could change a lot at this club. And there was a lot of people that were very vocal about the fact that nothing will change. It's going to basically be par for the course. He's going to come in and do what Arteta wants him to do, and that's all it is, and that's what they want.
It's been described as a
Um,
partnership versus like something
yeah.
else.
You cannot bring in somebody like Andrea Berta and nothing changes. I think ultimately, like early, we've already seen that we've went from, oh, Isak dreams to, well, let's go get
Hold the
Jokerit.
striker, hold the striker,
Oh,
folks.
sorry.
No, it's
I
cool. It's cool.
I do think that if you go from somebody like Edu to Andrea Berta, there is no way that doesn't change quite a bit
It's like
in the
going from a
club.
fat girl to Kelly Rowland,
Sure,
essentially.
sure, so yeah, I think anybody that is thinking that Andrea Berta, with 12 years experience at Atletico Madrid, is coming in to sit on his hands, is a weirdo, because surely not. I do think he's going to come in and make a difference. Now, is he going to get everything that he wants? Probably not. But is Arteta going to get everything he wants? I don't think so either.
Yeah, cut out the Kai Havertz side. Respectfully to Kai,
Yeah.
we're past that now. Like 65 million being spent, it needs to be on a proper centre mid or a proper striker. If the Kai Havertz situation comes again, not someone who can do either or, and we kind of stumble across something. And I mean this in no disrespect to Kai, because he didn't give himself that contract. He didn't buy himself. And that's where I mean, in the last 2-3 years, where it's become fine margins FC kind of thing, I think Edu and Mikel Arteta have both effed up. For Kai, the move has worked out. For Arsenal, it's probably presented more issues than not. Evidently, Arteta identifies talent, and he got his way with Kai, right? Then I add it on to the fact that Chelsea spent 70 million on him. We bought him for 65 million. They'll take that £5 million loss because they're getting the majority of it back, and he helped them win the champs. Then also, and we're going to look at the wages in a sec, Edu's put him on some fat money for Kai. He's valued by the club. The fans are allowing him. He's probably being held in high regard at Arsenal week in, week out than he was at Chelsea. He's got, his wife has had a kid. So from a lifestyle point of view, he's calm. For us, else. Because even if we get that striker and midfielder, which I promise you folks we're going to get onto, we're in this. What was I going to ask you as well? Like, do you, kind of this question, Brain tells us, said, Jess, do you believe Berta has some autonomy?
I mean,
or do you just think he's singing from the same hymn sheet?
No, I think that I just, there's no point in bringing in somebody like, he's not going to come in and just sit on his hands. I think there's nothing similar between Edu and Berta. They're completely different. Edu was pretty much a novice with no connections, no long-term history of being successful. He doesn't have any of those things. He doesn't have any sort of track record of building successful winning sides, nothing. This guy was with Simeone for 12 seasons. That is a long time to be with a strong personality. I don't think he's coming in to just do what Arteta wants. Early doors, we've already seen. Ornstein said it yesterday that Arsenal, he had been saying for months that Arsenal really weren't interested in Gyökeres. He had been saying that, guys, for months. That even when, because Arsenal fans kept bringing it up, there's no real links. There's no real links. There's no real links. That's not a player that Arteta would want. That's not a player that the club are looking at. He said that since Berta has come in, he's become a genuine option, is very high on the list. That in itself shows that this is somebody that's not just going to sit on his hands. He's gone from Gyökeres, not an option, to almost top of the list. He's been here for 5 minutes. So of course he has some autonomy.
Like what you're saying here, there's a case that Arsenal striker search is being driven by different aspects of the club. This is by Gooner blog, aka The Athletic. While Mikel Arteta admires Isaac, which we all know is a myth, Andrea Berta is a fan of Victor Gyökeres, and Edu's pre-existing department are working on Benjamin Sesko. Now, whether we like Sesko or not, we can all see why the club would be linked with Sesko. Young, release clause, yada yada yada. We can all see why Mikel Arteta and probably us Arsenal fans would love the impossible dream of Isaac. And then we can all likewise see with Gyökeres, like he's kind of win now mode. Do you have any concerns about Gyökeres?
I mean, so this whole scenario for me,
and would he be a good fit for Arsenal as well? I guess is the question I'm looking for.
This makes me happy, because I do think that as Sesko is the direction that we go in to placate the Havertz signing. Sesko comes in and Havertz is still starting games. Gyökeres comes in, Havertz goes to the bench. I like that. That's a strong decision. I think ultimately Arsenal's best form does not have Havertz starting at the 9. It just doesn't, so we'll be getting an actual striker. I was talking on my show about the Gyökeres situation, and that everything is a risk. So you don't know whether or not 100% if anybody's going to fail or do well or whatever. But what you do know is that the skill sets that he has, in terms of being able to, one, score goals, hit through the ball.
Which is what we need.
Yeah, be in the box at the right time. He's a transitional threat. We saw that against us. As much as people are like, he was terrible against us, he was their only good player against us. And he actually, I think he peeled off of, that had to be, I think that was Kivior.
Big up Alex, but he disagrees with what you said there, Like he's not really a fan of Gyökeres.
Who is Alex?
Different knock.
Oh, well, I personally, I don't really care, because I feel like I like Alex, But
Yeah, he's a
I
cool
just
guy, man. I got time for
I
him, man. Big him up.
yeah, I think there are kind of a lot of Arsenal fans that one are obsessed with us being young. They want the club to continue to buy young players because that keeps the pressure off. And Gyökeres is not a sexy signing. He's also not somebody that you can overthink about. I think as a club, we've overthought absolutely everything. And sometimes you
I
just
still got it
need,
wrong sometimes, you know. Everything's a risk. Word to what Foxy's
yeah,
saying.
you need something obvious at some stage. You need something obvious like we need goals, we need inevitability, we need unpredictability, we need transition threat. We need somebody that just makes half chances into full chances. We need somebody that's confident in front of goals. You need soft factor, somebody that's used to being the guy. He is the guy at Sporting. He's not a supporting character. He doesn't play in a two-man team. He's their guy. He's the number 9, and he's led them to a title. So all those are things that we need. Is it going to be, is he going to bang or not? There's no guarantee, but this whole idea that it's Isak or nothing doesn't make sense because Isak
It's
is not
naive.
available. He's not available. When I keep seeing people say this thing like, um, well, I'd prefer Isak. Well, I'd prefer $1 million in my bank account, but it's not coming. Of course, we'd all prefer Isak, but we need to get into reality mode. And we
It's
at
not
Sporting
happening. Too many
Directors,
dominoes need to fall in place for us, for Newcastle to even give Arsenal a conversation about Isaac. So we need to
yeah,
move on. You need to go and find the next Isaac. Easier said than done. Newcastle's win is everybody else's is it lost. Do you have any concerns about the Portuguese league though? Because when you do look at the list, the man that were bagging goals and Gyökeres is up there. They ain't really done anything in the game.
yeah, I think that obviously that's probably like the biggest concern is that, like João Felix and Nunez haven't done well, but there have been players that have done well, like Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes. Make what you want about Bruno Fernandes. He ain't never missed a goal. He ain't never missed an
And you look
assist.
at Carlos Vinicius. There's some stinker strikers up there, but I've seen enough from Gyökeres. I mean, the man's 26. This is a big move, as Jess said. You know, the transitional play, the playing out wide. I think he can improve his head. I don't think he's perfect, but I'm on it really and truly. And he might have that burning desire. Like, fair enough. I had a successful time in England, but it was in the Championship. Fair enough. I'm doing my thing in the Champions League. As Jess said, he did well against us. We all know what he did against City. I want to show and prove people wrong. And there's a sense of urgency. And
Yeah,
indirectly going back to Berta, it's a win now, not win now, but you're here for now. It's not tomorrow you're going to be a decent striker. It's, are you on
absolutely.
this now? Like, you've got Saka, you've got him, get the left winger. We're laughing.
Yeah, and I think that because we've gone so long without bringing in the striker, that you kind of have to go with what's the best option for you now. And there will be another Isak, type signing at some stage that we may be more readily available to go after in the future because we have a Gyökeres. I think it makes it, going for the younger player that we're not quite sure about, that kind of thing is kind of risky as your number 1 striker, and that's probably why we didn't go after him because at that stage, Isak was like 22. He had like 4 goals in La Liga. But when you already have the guy, if you already have a Gyökeres, you could bring in a John Duran type of player. I think we just need to get a 9 through the door.
Did you get Sesko as well?
I mean,
As like Gyökeres and Sesko, your right now
I
striker,
would
your
love to
development
do that.
striker.
I would love to do that. I just think that we have too many other things to do that this summer, 1 striker will probably be all we can get done. And then moving forward into the next summer, you can look to maybe move on a Havertz and a Jesus and then bring on your John Duran. We need our Ollie Watkins first. That's what I'm saying. And it's not sexy, but it's
Gets the
way
job
more
done though.
effective than what we got.
Gets the
I'm,
job
I'm
done.
yeah, I'm really surprised at how maybe it's because we haven't had a striker in so long at Arsenal. We haven't had a good striker since Aubameyang that we've convinced ourselves that a striker signing needs to be some sort of convoluted, oh, but the system, but the system, but the system. It's who can nobody plays our system. Not even Isak. Isak doesn't even play in a system similar to ours. Newcastle and Arsenal don't play anything alike. But this whole idea that it's this figurative being that doesn't really exist. We just need to get the right person for us right now that ticks the most amount of boxes. And
And
for
they
me,
all present a risk.
yeah, they need to be available, a number 9, knows how to score goals. And Gyökeres is not bad in the assist department, by the way. He's not somebody that cannot create, that cannot do other things. So I'm very surprised at the Touch the thing on the screen.
Touch the screen. Touch on this thing on the screen.
Oh.
This is it going to be a big thing?
Oh.
This,
I was like, hello.
right, you're moving crazy.
But yeah, I'm surprised at how many people are turning their nose up at somebody with the numbers that he has. But like Matt G said, people are so convinced on Isak that they think that everybody else is a bum. It's going to be a big one summer, and we are very excited about it. I mean, for somebody like Mikel, who I think completely shut out Edu this past summer, so much so that they were at a deadlock and we didn't get anything done, it will probably be excited about somebody that is.
And he mentioned depth and certain qualities to go to the next step as well.
Yeah, I think he'll be happy that somebody has probably the ability to go to Bilbao and get Nico Williams done, somebody that's going to get deals done quickly. I think one of Edu's worst traits is that he couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. He wasn't able to do multiple things quickly.
I'll get cancelled if I say what I wanted to say then in relation to that comment. Oh my God.
Yeah, he didn't have the ability to multitask or do anything quickly. And so I think Arteta will be happy to potentially get a couple of his big key pieces in before preseason starts, which is my
expectation.
I hope so. I hope that we've not either you're gonna get Nico Williams or you're not. Move on.
So how do you see the position of power going with these lot then?
I think they'll work as a little team. You know, I think I don't think that he'll be able to strong arm Berta like he did Edu, but I do think they'll bump heads at some stages, but I think they need to work with what's best for Arsenal and put their egos aside, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I think Berta has enough experience working with a huge ego to know how to get a team constructed.
That Simeone used to butt heads a lot, so I don't think
it did. So I do think that it'll work out, but you know, I think if you can't change the coach, then the sporting director is the next best thing, and so we're getting that. So I'm expecting a pretty decent summer. I really am.
How much of the summer has to be dedicated, or Berta's job in the next 12 to 18 months towards sorting out the wage structure? Because one thing I will give Edu and Mikel Arteta credit, whether I agree with the methods or not, there was a point, like maybe 3 years, maybe more ago, where we would, you know, the Pepes, the Ozils, the Aubameyans, whether I agreed with it or not, we was looking after that. For one reason or another, in the same way I've praised them, it feels like we've done all of that, ripped that all up, started again, giving new contracts to the players who deserve it. And we're kind of in that again. Like, you look at these names, yeah, there's not too many players that us fans wouldn't move on from, etc., etc. Like, how much does he have to deal with the wages? Because Kai Havertz is on 280 grand a week. Like, that's an issue in itself. Gabriel Jesus, that's an issue in itself. Not really Declan Rice. Some are even saying, Odegaard, if you don't fix up, you're our captain, you're on 240 grand. That's something to revisit. Now, we know Partey's going, and we know Bukayo Saka, Saliba, and Magalh also deserve new deals. Like, how much of this window is about getting outgoings and getting rid of, you know, cleaning up the wages, I guess?
I honestly think this is why Partey is leaving. I think early on in the summer or the season, there were like rumblings that he would get a new deal. But I think, as you know, Kai Havertz, or not Kai Havertz, but when Jesus got injured, I do think that the club realized that they weren't going to be able to move on that huge wage. And so they need to be able to give that £200,000 to someone else. That £200,000 is two new
Actually, Nico Williams' wages, well, a bit more than that. He's on that already.
That's two contracts right there for Saka and Saliba. If you add £100,000 to both of those, you can get them to re-sign. So I think that's why they're not going to keep Thomas Partey. Jorginho as well, like, he's not on high wages, but all that adds up. You know, £100,000 for him, get him off the books. Tierney is on, I think, £100,000 as well. Get him off the books. Zinchenko, now that you have Miles Lewis-Skelly, you can give that £150,000 to someone else.
You can distribute that elsewhere.
I'm sorry?
You can distribute that elsewhere.
Yeah,
like what Zinchenko's earning. I think you're bang on the mark. 150 grand. That's couple man's wages. That's a new deal for Wanyeri. That's a new deal for Miles Lewis-Skelly. That's money that's being put in the pot. I want you to humor me, yeah, because I'm going to ask you, one thing, and then at the end of it, I'm going to ask you another, yeah. Just tell, like, not necessarily keep or sell, but like, I just think there's very few players that us Arsenal fans would keep under no circumstances. Obviously, you can caveat that with everyone's got a price, and we know everyone's situation is different. But if I just go through a couple of these names, yeah, if you was off, not that we're going to get it, but in the same vein that we spent 65 million for Kai Havertz and Chelsea
Mhm.
spent 70, if we was offered 60 million, would you let Kai go?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I don't need to waste time with Gabriel Jesus. We both know he needs to move on. Rice is cool. Do you think Odegaard something to worry about, something to monitor going forward? It'd be fair to say.
I mean, he has next season for me. I'm not player of the season twice over, one of our best players. Even if you don't take the player of the season out, even yesterday, as bad as he was, he created 2 clear-cut chances for us that other people probably should have done better with. So I'm gonna keep him. Sorry.
All right, Partey's gone. Saka, new deal. Saliba, new deal. I feel Martinelli's in that kind of Odegaard stage, in that you need to get back up your ideas. You
Yeah.
might get blessed this summer. You've probably been moved on. Zinni, move on. Ben White's cool. Marino, we're at. Don't know how he got 130 grand and we spent 30, 40 million on a player in last year of his deal. Cool. Calafiori just signed. Cool. You've mentioned Tierney,
Need to get
Jorginho.
fit. Cannot end up being a Tomiyasu. I'm watching him very, very, very closely.
Exactly. They monitor that. Tierney's gone, Jorginho's gone, Sterling's gone. Raya is calm, probably deserves a lot more money. Tomiyasu, the quality, it's fair to say the quality isn't in question. It's your availability. You've played 6 minutes. You can be moved on because of that. Magalhaes, it deserves a lot more. I think Timber will get an improved deal. Trossard, it'd be fair to say we'd be open to offers, right?
Yeah, I think he's somebody that this is why when somebody was like, "Oh, the Everton game doesn't mean anything," I'm like, it doesn't. But from now until the end of the season, I think it's important to understand where Martinelli is going, because Martinelli at his best and Trossard at his best, it's no competition. Martinelli where he's been this season and Trossard where he is this season, then we have a discussion. And I think if Martinelli can get back to 2022, 2023 form or some vein of it, I feel
I've
very
given up with
comfortable
that, man.
letting Trossard go. Very comfortable letting Trossard go. We have not gotten any Saudi coins. I want Berta to get good Saudi coins for Trossard. We have not been blessed yet, so I'm happy with Trossard
We need to
going.
get better at hustling, man. We don't hustle well.
Absolutely. I'm thinking Trossard can go if Martinelli, if Berta feels like Martinelli is one of those types of players that, can regain some level of form. Because as a squad player with Nico Williams and Saka as well, those are good wingers if Martinelli's playing well. It just, he just needs to get some sort of form. But Trossard, he could go, and then Kivior could go. And then
Neto's gone. We want to keep the Haylenders.
look at their little, yeah, we need to give them some money.
Lokonga's gone, Tavares is gone, Fabio Vieira and Nelson are not here, but they're probably gone. So it's fair to say, right? Like, we've gone through that. Obviously, there's some people we want gone now. There's some will be open to offers. There's little isms and schisms as to who's going to leave, how, why they could leave, and the impact of them leaving, right? But is it fair to say there's more players that were open to letting go than players that are unsellable?
Yeah, I think so. And then we also have to take into consideration that we always have all these players that we want to sell, but ultimately,
yeah, 100%.
a lot of them do end up staying. And so I do anticipate more of those players staying. But yeah, it's going to be a big summer for outgoings, especially because we have a sporting director who we anticipate is going to be able to get decent money.
So I wanted that I asked you that, yeah, just because. Is it a revamp or a rebuild then? Because I've been battling this with myself, because I would say I think it's the same thing, just two different words, but I would say it's a revamp. But then when you look at it, if we talk about a squad of 19 to 23, if you include the young players, there's more players that we would sell under no circumstance, more people we would let go than keep. Surely it's a bit of a rebuild then.
Nah.
You don't reckon so?
No.
Within the next year, I'd say from year 1 to 3 years.
To me, it's the same. It's still pretty much the same group.
We got the core, yeah. But ain't that a rebuild though? Because we've been talking about the squad and having to rest players. And as we've seen, when you run your core into the ground with not having a squad, we find ourselves in this situation with the hamstring injuries.
No, I don't think it's a rebuild. I think our lives would be totally different if we had never bought Kai Havertz and just bought a striker and another winger. I think the knock-on effect and domino effect of that has made people look at other players and other parts of our team as not good enough because one section of our team does not work. So for me personally, I think a lot of these rebuilds and we need to get rid and we need to do this. Like
we can't all do it in the summer. But we need to breathe new life on a tactical front and on a recruitment front.
When we rebuilt, we started from scratch.
Or retool, yeah. but it's all the
Yeah.
same thing. We're just using different words,
And
really.
I
I think
like
we could
Matt G said rebuild the attack. And I think that that's where we are. We're not,
100.
yeah, this whole rebuild thing, like we rebuilt the team that was really bad, and we're not looking to do that. We're not
I'd say
looking to
midfield
bring
as well.
in a whole new back line, a whole new goalkeeper setup, a whole new midfield, a whole like the only thing that we didn't rebuild was the fact was Martinelli and Saka, because Arteta was gifted those two players. So we're not looking to do that, guys. We're just rebuilding we're actually just doing the work that's been overdue. We are overdue by a long, long way when it comes to the attack. And
Like a kid at school not doing his coursework all year, and then suddenly you've got to the
yeah,
final week and you got bed, you got to do your math stuff, your English stuff, whatever. But I do think, for me, I think we need about 3 players into the starting 11. I think we need a striker, left winger, centre mid. I definitely feel we need a left back and a couple of goalies. And then I think it's about depth. I do think there'll be some that me and you would let go in the summer that probably we hang on to them. I think Fabio
yeah,
Vieira, hot take, is at least until next January is going to be there. I don't know if we're going to shift Nelson on, for example. He's got hamstring injury. The only ones I think are guaranteed to go are those whose literally contracts are running out. Before we go over to your channel, I want to run over some quick transfer stuff. Now, Garcia has been linked with us. What do you make of Garcia? And if he is signed for all this promise he has at 23, surely at some point, Raya and Garcia, someone's going to have to be, if it hasn't been made inevitably clear, one's the number 2 and one's the number 1. We might see another Ramsdale Raya situation, or Leno Ramsdale.
best goalkeeper in La Liga this season.
Wanted by a lot of clubs.
Yeah, wanted by a lot of clubs, and for good reason. He's definitely much better than Espanyol. Now,
Hey, don't diss them. They might be listening, and they might want a couple more millies, man.
I think that just blindly, of course, I'd want the best goalkeeper in La Liga. Of course, I would. Going back and recomplicating the goalkeeper situation is something that I'm not really interested in, because you bring in Juan Garcia. As much as I've seen reports that would be excited to push Raya, inevitably it's going to become a clusterfuck and a circus. I do not like this nonsense about 2 number 1 goalkeepers. I think it's just
Arteta's capping with that, man. You never know, it might, but anyone knew that was cap. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, but knowing Mikel and his galaxy brain and how forceful and his ego and his the galaxy brain, I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that he wants Juan Garcia still makes me think that he does believe it, because you're bringing in a number 1 goalkeeper to compete with your already number 1 goalkeeper. If that was not the case, we just go get a number 2. So it's not looking good. But if you want him, just go get him and get it over with, because I'm tired of hearing about the guy.
You got any faith in Nico Williams? Apparently, Andrea Berta has met with his agent, and we've heavily scouted him for the last 2 years.
I think this one, it's all about the wages. His wages are he would be gone already, I think, if somebody could figure out the wage situation. He's on 200 and something thousand pounds a week.
And we need new deals to be given out to a couple.
Right. So he'd be one of the highest earners. And I know people have a literal conniption if this young raw player ended up being one of our highest earners. My whole thing is, I think we do have some wage space in comparison to the other teams in our bracket. We're still have some space. So if you want to
good health financially.
Yeah, we are. So if this is who you want, just fucking do it. Just get it done. I really rate the player. I've never really flip-flopped. I think that he's
been a bit hot and cold, but there's potential there, man.
So yeah, if you want him, just go get him. Again, with Juan Garcia, I'm just tired of talking about him.
Join the club. Why do you think I'm asking you about your thoughts on this? It's nice to just let you speak. And if you're tired of speaking about them, Zubamendi, Ornstein's been speaking.
So
you confident?
I just feel like, I know people are like, it's PR, but what kind of PR would it be for Arsenal to put out that they feel like a player is going to come, for it to crash and burn in their face? That's terrible.
Make sure we pivot.
That's fucking terrible. So I do think that he's going to come in. Now, we've had this conversation many a times.
I ain't even going to ask you about Sane, but go on.
I think he's a good player. And there's a reason why everybody really rates him. It's just a matter of, how the midfield is going to click together. and it's just not a sexy signing. DMs are not really sexy signings, so it is what it is. Again, just get him done. It is what it is.
And I got two last things before we head over to your channel. Yeah. The first one would be obviously just assume this is Gyökeres because the Isaac thing is done in it. But let's just assume that that's Isaac and everything else goes to plan. How do you feel about this as a starting 11?
It's really good. That back line just gives me the joy. I love that back line.
Is that a title winning 11? Is that enough to get over the line? Definitely not Zubamendi in that left 8, but like, the man are just there.
We get it. I mean, if you consider the fact that, I know that we're so many points behind Liverpool, but I do think that, with Gyökeres scoring 50% of the goals that Kai Havertz missed, and a left winger, that solves problems. Yeah, I think that team can win a league title. I think Gyökeres is a lot closer to what we need than maybe like Sesko, because Sesko is also raw, So yeah, I like it. I'm not against that starting 11, but yeah.
I don't think we should give up on Sesko either, really. In an ideal world, you get Gyökeres and you get Sesko and you get Nico Williams, but that's not going to happen, let alone having Kai Havertz on the wages and all the others, and obviously all the new deals we have to get done. My last one then before we get out of here is definitely not to remind you about Gabriel Magalh, but it's now time for March's Player of the Month. You've got Mikel Merino, Nwaneri, Declan Rice, and Timber. Who are you going for?
My heart says Declan's been outrageous, but you got to give it to Merino, don't you? Playing out of position, scoring goals. You got to give it to Merino, don't you? Like, I think it's not, nobody's going to change their feelings about Merino because it is what it is, but I think he saved us a little bit, in this time period. I don't know what we'd do, if we didn't have him up there, to be honest. I'm saying in the aspect of.
No, I know what you mean. You're just triggering my PTSD. Like,
yeah,
you made me just start thinking, how the hell did we get into this scenario for what's meant to be the real push of the title?
Failed left center mid to.
We don't buy strikers, we make them.
Is insane, but I would give it to Merino. But I do think Declan Rice is having a sneaker of a second half of the season. He's finally coming into
his own. He's playing catch up after that slow start. Do you know what? Yeah, I think you're bang on the money. I think one thing that's going to go for Merino and sadly against for me, Timber, Nwaneri, and Declan Rice is, with the greatest of respect to Merino, because me and you have both considered the fact that we shouldn't have signed him. He's not a level raiser and all of that kind of stuff. But I do think because of maybe a lot of how these ITKs and Twitter experts were speaking about how he's going to change our lives and he's the next Granit Xhaka, which in theory he was never going to be. I think that's gone against him. Respectfully to Merino, I think the other three, I have a higher degree of expectation for them and I rate them a lot higher on what they mean to the squad. Timber's been superb. Rice, as you said, sneaking up, having a great second half of the season. Nwaneri's Nwaneri, but I can't look past Mikel Merino's goals, in it. Like, I know Tab Police look away now, but I'm sure like he's got 5 goals in 8 starts. I have to hail him up for that. And apparently only Mohamed Salah has more goals than him now. Obviously, I'm being a bit silly, but yeah, DG still defends the Merino signing. Crazy. Do you know, I'm not even defending it. Would I have signed Mikel Merino when we needed a level raiser? Undoubtedly, I wouldn't have. Do I think he was the guy? No, I said it from the jump. When everyone was saying he's the Xhaka replacement, I didn't understand it. I just think he's a decent squad player. And I didn't like the fact of, I don't like whether I rate players or not. I don't like the fact that players are written off before given a chance. He didn't buy himself. I think he's a squad player, but Arsenal, we keep doing that thing where we take squad players or people that should be on the peripheral things, we start making them starters, and then we're surprised they go through good moments, bad moments, and then ultimately just don't deliver, man. Man said worst takes on YouTube. You have to wonder why you're here, Tony, man. Like, big up yourself. But yeah, I'll give it to Mikel Merino, man. But I know we're going over to your platform. Let people know they can find you, man. A man said press box, but yeah, go on. Let people know they can find you. Yeah. One little press box invite, and oh man, boy, it's killing me.
Yeah. That's funny. Sorry. She knows Arsenal in the YouTube, search bar. Find me there. Jessica Black TV on everything else. Yeah.
And promote the TikTok. I see you copied that. I forgot his name. I swear he's American like you, man. That guy, he's putting his head in the ice and doing all of that.
I don't know why people are saying I copied him.
There's nothing wrong with copying. Everybody's copying everyone.
But yeah, like Jessica Black TV if you want to see other stuff. I actually just posted updated like studio office tour thingy.
Her TikToks are good, man.
So thank you.
Better
So
than her footy opinions.
look at that. I know.
I had to not play it. Can't give you too much praise, man. Balance.
I know. But yeah, let's go over to my show so we can talk more about the same things.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the same things, no doubt. She's gonna put her own spin on it. You lot bring your questions and stuff. Even you, Tony, who's hating in the comments, mate. You know, we're going over there, people. But yeah, appreciate you lot. Like, comment, subscribe. Big up Jess as usual. Thursdays are some of the best days because she knows her stuff. We're out, people, man. We're out, but we're not out. We're going over there, man. Peace.
Bye, y'all.